During the first part of the pandemic, after the novelty of free time wore off, I fulfilled the lifelong goal of reading the complete works of Wendell Berry. I've always loved his essays and poems, which feel really connected to the natural world, which makes sense considering his long life on the farm. And even though he's never publicly mentioned even knowing about our shared faith, so far as I know, there's something about him that feels Unitarian Universalist about him. His respect for everyone, his loving observations, his social awareness, his commitment to countering oppression, especially the effects of racism. After just a few of the essays and nonfiction that I read, I discovered that he was also a prolific novelist. He published well over 1,000 pages in novels and short stories about the residents of a tiny fictional town called Port William, Kentucky. The stories are set over the course of 90 years or so, beginning in the Civil War when the town was deeply divided, being on the border of North and South. What I love about the book from which I took the story that Sky just shared is that it's told from the perspective of a descendant of one of the main families featured in the book. The narrator is someone who knows these people. He's from them. He is them. He is the place, the small town on the edge of two different things. The narrator, Andy Catlett, could easily be Wendell Berry himself. Mr. Berry is the same age and came from a similar kind of place, from a similar kind of family. And the stories he tells, in the form of fiction and essays, come from a place of love, respect, and an abiding curiosity about the effect that we have on one another. He loves people for who they are, in all of their frailness and fragility and brokenness and perfect imperfection. And by he, I mean Wendell Berry or Andy Catlett. I'm not really sure, but what I am sure of, because I know the experience of writing, is that there's a bit of the writer's life in every work of fiction. There are two other stories in the book that I'd like to share briefly, if only in description. Andy talks of his love for one of his father's farmhands, a man named Dick Watson. Andy is white and about 10 years old. Dick is black and somewhere around 60. Andy is vulnerable in sharing his shame and confusion over racism, the benefits he had of being white, and prejudice experienced by his friend. You know, in 1968, Berry wrote a book of nonfiction called The Hidden Wound about racism and its effect on racists. Jess Rowe, author of White Flights, Race Fiction and the American Imagination, called the book an exercise in white vulnerability, or white anti-fragility. Berry is teaching other white people how to face their own role in systemic racism without getting defensive. And the way I see it, his portrayal of Dick as a kind of bonus parent to Andy gives them each a glimpse into a world they might not otherwise have seen. Two other characters are Ernest and Naomi Russet, an old couple, mid-50s. And their desire turns into hope, which suddenly becomes fear, which slowly morphs into sadness and acceptance of the fact that they will have no biological heir to leave their well-tended and successful farm to, until they find Tom Coulter, a young man rejected by his own father who was beaten down by his losses. Ernest and Naomi take Tom in and quickly treat him as their own son. Theirs is a story that reminds us that we can make family wherever we find it, especially among those whose value we share. It's a reminder that a parent isn't just a person who provides a roof and 3 squares a day. A parent isn't even the one who must accept us just as we are and love us unconditionally. Parents, the best parents, are the people who see what we can be and offer the guidance, wisdom, and expectation of accountability to make us just so. I'm not a parent. Not being a parent is the only real regret I have in my life, aside from this stupid tattoo on my left arm. When I was younger, in my teens, 20s, and even into my 30s, I was foolish enough to believe what I heard repeated all around me, that people like me couldn't be parents. And even if we managed to make it happen in whatever way possible, we'd never live long enough to guide a young life into adulthood. A different kind of pandemic was raging then, and its horrors were played out on the news every night with big doses of judgment and righteousness. And one day it occurred to me, but at a point in my life where I felt like it was too late to be a parent, that I will live a life as long and productive as the lives of my parents and their parents before them. It would just look a little different, more like the life of Ernest and Naomi Russet, and less like Mars and Dory Catlett. It would be up to me to make it as love-filled as the lives of my parents and my grandparents. So I started seeing children in my life differently. Not just the children of my siblings, but also other children. Children of friends, children of neighbors. There was little Wendell across the street in Ohio, and yes, he was named after Wendell Berry. He was a kind-hearted, tow-headed bulldozer of a little boy who doted on his baby sister, Helen. At 3, he chatted up all the neighbors. He was like the mayor of East Scarborough. I especially loved kids whose parents abandoned them physically or emotionally, like Gabby, the little girl in California with big brown eyes and a big voice made for Disney songs. They became my nieces and nephews, and I began to relish the role I could and did continue to play in their lives. They're part of me and I'm part of them, part of the story of who they are and who they're becoming. Something amazing happened just about a year ago today. One of those kids, all grown up now, told Joe and me that she was going to be a mother and that we would be grandfathers. Without ever having the joys and challenges of raising Gabby ourselves, she came to think of us as her dads, the only men in her life she's ever been able to count on. And now, little Archie, I try to not think about Archie Bunker. He's 4 months old. And his little personality is starting to show. He's quiet and curious and observant, and he's already making his place in the world. And I can't help thinking that he's going to grow up to be like Andy Catlett. And I try not to think about that too much. I don't want him feeling like he has to be a certain way in order for me to love him. So here Joe and I are now, moving again, leaving New England, sadly, without ever having connected deeply with any of the ever-expanding number of kids in our neighborhood, despite seeing them every day on our walks. We're going back to Michigan. Well, back to Michigan for Joe. Back to the place that he's from, back to the people that he is from, back to the people who have made him who he is. You know, a few weeks ago when he delivered his first sermon to his new congregation on the day that they voted to hire him, he started by saying, I'm from here, but I'm not from here. I'm from Detroit, and while its struggles and characteristics might be similar to those of Flint, it's not Flint. He will be learning once again how to be in a new place. Not of the place, but in the place, for the place, among the people, loving them just as they are, like a character out of a Wendell Berry novel. And I'll be right alongside him doing the same. But that's a month from now. Between now and then, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of life to enjoy, right here, accompanying each other through the celebrations and challenges, the joys and the misery, the way members of a good community should. So I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure what my point is this morning. I just know that it felt really nice to hear someone else read Wendell Berry. And I know that I'm feeling wistful about leaving a place and a job and a group of people that I really, truly love. This morning when I got in, there was an incredible note to me from Maribel, telling me that I have the strength to make it through any hardship. And I'm really looking forward to the coming of age youth, Dash, Ezra, Moses, and Twos, leading the service next week and sharing their personal faith statements. 4 of so many children and youth here that I'm going to miss because they've become a part of me. And I hope you'll be here for it. So folks in the sanctuary, please rise now in body or in spirit so that we may sing together hymn number 324, Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads.